The movie starts with Bradley towing a car to the garage where he works. When he gets there, he sees his boss waiting for him in front of the workshop, and he could tell something important was up by the way his boss acted. Turns out his hunch was right because he got fired because of some money trouble at the company. Bradley didn't waste any time. He packed his stuff and left the place. When he got back home, he spotted his wife, Lauren, sitting in a car parked outside, talking on the phone. Bradley got kinda suspicious seeing her chatting away, so he went over and opened the car door. He broke the news to her that he lost his job. While they were talking, he noticed some red kiss marks on her neck, which made him really upset. He got angry and grabbed her phone to check who she called last. Turns out she'd been talking to some other guy. Bradley was furious, and he told her to come inside the house. After that, he let his anger out by wrecking her car, smashing the rearview mirror, and yanking off the car hood. Bradley then asks Lauren to come inside the house for a chat, just the two of them. He wants to know how long she's been seeing someone else. Lauren admits she's been with another guy for 3 months. She felt really sad when she had a miscarriage, and Bradley was always busy with work, not giving her much attention. They talked about their feelings, and Bradley suggested they start fresh, and Lauren agreed. Now, after Bradley got fired from the repair shop, he's thinking about working with a guy named Gil, who does some not-so-legal stuff with drugs. Lauren doesn't like this idea at all, but Bradley insists it's tough to find a job quickly in this tough economy. So, 8 months later, Bradley started working as a guy who delivers drugs. He dropped off a package to a drug dealer in an apartment and then went home. Things started looking better for his family's money situation. They were living the good life now and moved into a fancier, bigger house. Plus, Lauren was pregnant again. One evening, while Bradley and Lauren were getting romantic at home, Bradley got a call from his buddy Gil, who wanted him to come over right away. So, Bradley rushed over to Gil's place. When he got there, he met a new friend of Gil's named Eliezer. This Eliezer guy was all cool-looking with black hair and had a big drug operation going on in Mexico. Eliezer showed up with 2 tough guys, Roman and Pedro, who looked like bodyguards. Eliezer said these guys would go along with Bradley on his drug runs, but Bradley didn't like the idea because Roman seemed messed up on drugs and he was worried it could cause problems. Eliezer vouched for his guys and said he trained Roman. Gil convinced Bradley to take this important job and promised him 3 months off when the baby was born. In the end, Bradley agreed, but only if he was in charge of the mission, and Eliezer's guys followed his lead. They all agreed, and Bradley and Eliezer's guys went off to do their drug-dealing job. One night, they reached a pier. Bradley and Eliezer's guys were about to start a job of getting a package of drugs from the bottom of the sea. The 3 of them got on a small yacht and headed out to the sea. When they got to the middle of the sea, the yacht stopped. Pedro was ready to dive down and grab the drugs from the ocean floor. It didn't take long for Pedro to find a big box that looked like a pirate's treasure chest, all chained up. He used a crowbar to unlock the chains and quickly grabbed all the drug packets, then swam back up to the surface. Bradley and Roman helped him bring the drugs on board. After that, they sailed back to the dock. Bradley got worried that the police might try to catch them on their way back, so he told Roman and Pedro to toss the drugs into the sea. When they heard this, Roman and Pedro didn't agree with Bradley's plan, and things got heated, leading to a fight. In short, Bradley had to split from Roman and Pedro. But as they got to the parking area near the pier, the police surrounded Roman and Pedro, and a big gunfight broke out. Bradley saw this from a distance and hurried back to the yacht. On his way, he bumped into a cop who asked for his help. To avoid suspicion, Bradley pretended to be a regular guy and helped the police, but then he had to shoot Roman and Pedro. Sadly, Pedro didn't make it, and Bradley got arrested by the police right away. At the police station, a detective questioned Bradley. The detective realized Bradley was clever and good at fooling people. But the police weren't dumb either. Eventually, they had a trial, and Bradley got a 7-year prison sentence for murder and having illegal weapons. After the trial, they put him on a prison bus and sent him to jail. When Bradley got to the prison, they gave him a checkup. The prison warden told all the inmates to get rid of anything hidden inside them, and then they had to go to the clinic for a medical check. After that, an older guy named Lefty showed Bradley to his cell on the top floor. In his cell, Bradley met another prison warden named Ander. Ander explained the rules that inmates had to follow while in prison. One rule was that they all had to come out and stand in front of their cells when a bell rang. Night came and the bell rang, so all the upstairs inmates lined up in front of their cells for the warden to check them. But Bradley was still fast asleep, so everyone had to wait for him to wake up. Finally, Bradley woke up and the warden scolded him, telling him to be more disciplined and follow the prison rules. Meanwhile, back at Bradley's home, Lauren was sleeping when she suddenly saw a stranger who had broken in. The intruder used a stun gun on her, and she passed out. The kidnapper then took Lauren to an unknown place. The next day in prison, Bradley got summoned to the office by a prison staff member named Denise. She told him that an obstetrician wanted to talk to him. Surprisingly, it was his wife's obstetrician. The doctor wanted to talk about the complications that had come up during Lauren's pregnancy. The day after that, Bradley met with Dr. Pellman in the prison reception area. Turns out, Dr. Pellman was actually one of Elieser's guys who had come to the prison. He had some bad news to share. Elieser lost a lot of money, $3.2 million, from a drug deal gone wrong. Then he showed Bradley a picture of Lauren, tied up and looking scared. Dr. Pellman threatened to harm Lauren's pregnancy if Bradley didn't do what Elieser wanted. In the end, they struck a deal. Bradley had to make things right by taking out a guy named Christopher Bridge, who was serving a life sentence. This Christopher guy was in a different prison, called Cell Block 99. After Bradley finished talking with his visitor, the prison warden walked him back to his cell. But just before he went inside, he did something unexpected. Bradley took off his shoes and started hitting Ander, the warden. A fight broke out. Bradley did this on purpose to create chaos and get himself moved to Cell Block 99 in Redleaf, a high-security prison. He could easily handle Ander, but some of Ander's buddies came to help and stopped him. On the way to the cell, Bradley attacked a few more prison guards, leading to more fights. He did all this because he felt the trouble he caused wasn't enough to get him transferred to Redleaf. Finally, one of the guards electrocuted him, and his wish came true. When Bradley got to Redleaf Prison, the warden there welcomed him and warned him that it's a super secure place where getting out is almost impossible. They gave him a checkup, and then they took him to cell number 59. But when he got there, he was in for a nasty surprise. The cell was way worse than the one in the previous prison. It was dirty, dark, and smelled terrible. The cell even had an open toilet that was full of waste from previous inmates. Bradley couldn't stand the stink, so he used his shirt to cover his nose. After spending a long time in his cell, Bradley got taken outside by some officers to get some fresh air for an hour. When he got to the prison yard, a young guy named Derek came up to him. Bradley asked Derek if he knew a prisoner called Christopher Bridge, but Derek said he didn't know anyone by that name. A little while later, Bradley went up to a bunch of inmates who were working out. Even though Derek had told him not to do it, he still went ahead and disturbed them. It ended up causing fights, and one by one, the prisoners started fighting each other. Before long, the prison guards fired warning shots. Bradley didn't stop there. He even attacked the officers. Eventually, they managed to immobilize him and took him to Cell Block 99 with his eyes closed. So, when Bradley got to Cell Block 99, they took off his blindfold, and he realized it was an isolated and underground part of the prison. Before going into his cell, they made him wear an electric shock jacket. Inside the cell, he noticed there was a bunch of broken glass all over the floor. Meanwhile, Lauren was in a really bad state, being kept captive in some hidden spot. Dr. Pellman and a guy from Korea, who's an abortion doctor, were also there. They hadn't performed an abortion on Lauren yet, but they'd done a basic checkup. Back in the prison, Bradley, who was lying there feeling helpless, started shouting out Christopher Bridge's name. The guy in the cell next to his replied that there was no inmate with that name. Soon enough, the prison guards showed up and shocked him until he couldn't move. Then, the warden told Bradley that some inmates wanted to talk to him. They took Bradley to a basement to meet these inmates, and one of them was Eliezer. Bradley found out that the whole deal about killing Christopher Bridges was just a trick. They wanted him to end up in cell block 99 so Eliezer could torment him. Eliezer was furious because he'd lost $3.2 million, and Bradley's actions had landed him in prison. To make things even worse, Pedro, who was with Bradley before, had died during a shootout at the dock, leaving Eliezer's sister a widow. Bradley endured a lot of torture, and it left him really weak. They even showed him a photo of his wife, Lauren, who seemed just as helpless as he was. After all the torment, they dragged Bradley back to his cell. So, Bradley went back to the cell where Eliezer was and took on his men. One by one, Eliezer's guys got knocked down until only Eliezer was left. Bradley grabbed him by the neck and told him to message Dr. Pellman and cancel the abortion for his wife. He also wanted them to take Lauren to Gil's place. Bradley's demands were met after he broke Eliezer's leg. When they got to Gil's house, Lauren rushed over to him. Then Jill used a long gun to shoot Dr. Pellman and the abortion doctor from a distance, killing them. While still in prison, Bradley got news that his wife had survived via a cell phone. He sent a final message and asked Lauren to put the phone to her belly so their baby could hear the message. He hoped their child would grow up healthy and smart. Bradley looked really sad because he knew he'd never get to see his child. After he hung up, he went back to Eliezer's cell and attacked him until Eliezer's head came off. The prison warden showed up and shot Bradley in the head, ending his life. And that's how the movie ends. So the moral of the story is don't let a bad day at work lead you to become a drug-dealing, prison-fighting, head-chopping, cell phone-saving superhero. Stay cool and find a better way to deal with life's curveballs.